offer you that help.
And I would accept that help.
And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to offer you that help contingently. There is a really good facility called Creative Care in Calabasas here, and it is an inpatient treatment program, and they do not mess around. And I am prepared to make arrangements for you to have what I consider to be among the best treatment in the country. And I am going to offer that to you with the caveat to those people that if you get out there and play games, that I want them to put you on the curb and call a cab and send you on your way. So you're going to have to work for this one.
Okay. And I'm willing to work for it.
Well, we'll see. I want to thank all of my guests for being here today. A special thanks to Creative Care. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, and my new series, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil. The first installment is The Killer Thorn of Gypsy Rose. They're free, and you can find them on Apple Podcast app. Thanks for watching.
It was a bribe, it was a pay-to-play scheme, obviously, that involved bribes paid through political donations.
Right now on News 4 at 4, St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger faces federal charges and resigns from office. This afternoon, we have live team coverage. The man who was hit and survived a shooting at a congressional baseball practice takes a trip to the bi-state to say thank you and to tout the power of prayer. And a new danger is crawling into Missouri and Illinois. We asked a local expert what you need to know as News 4 at 4 starts now.
Live from the KMOV Broadcast Center in downtown St. Louis. This is News 4, watching out for you.
A federal indictment leads to Steve Stenger's resignation, and now we are waiting to see who will become the next leader of St. Louis County. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Claire Kellett. St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger resigned this morning shortly after a 3-count indictment was unsealed, charging him with taking bribes. News 4 was first to break the story on air and online. Russell Kinsall begins our live team coverage this afternoon from outside the federal courthouse.
Claire, right now Steve Stenger is free. He was released on his own recognizance. At no point was he ever handcuffed or locked up in jail. Did not have to pay a sizable bond. But today, Steve Stenger is accused of being a crooked politician and orchestrating a pay-to-play scheme. Stenger and his defense attorney Scott Rosenblum parked a block away and walked casually and confidently before news cameras that tracked his long walk to the courthouse. The 44-page indictment lays out 5 schemes that allege Stenger took campaign donations with the express intent of awarding contracts in return. In court, Stenger worked to appear relaxed and confident. When the judge asked him if he'd understood the nature of the charges, he said, "I do, Your Honor," and he told the judge that he had read the indictment. The prosecution said the investigation was a long one that included the review of thousands of emails and texts and involved the help from witnesses and concerned citizens.
As the result of a year-long undercover investigation, it was conducted by the United States Attorney's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Postal Inspection Service, with the assistance of the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigations.
This was not a surprise to us. We've been in contact with the United States Attorney's Office for quite a while. So everything this today was not a surprise. So we're familiar with the case, and we plan to orchestrate our next move from there.
As one of the conditions of his release, Stenger gave up his law license. If he's convicted on all 3 counts, he could get up to 60 years in prison. Now, coming up all new on News 4 at 5, the U.S. Attorney's Office talks about their concern that this investigation could impact last year's election for county executive. We'll hear more from them about that coming up on News 4 at 5. Live downtown at the federal courthouse, Russell Kinsall, News 4.
While prosecutors did not elaborate much on the courthouse steps, the charging documents certainly dig a lot deeper into this. Investigative reporter Lauren Traeger broke the story of the indictment early today. You've been combing through the 44 pages that you have here, and a lot of interesting information in there.
Yeah, it's certainly really extensive. This document, 44 pages long, as you mentioned. It is clear from the indictment that prosecutors not only obtained Stenger's phone records, it appears very likely investigators had someone on the inside wearing a wire because several of the conversations are recorded. The indictment talks about one man specifically, John Rollo. Now, according to prosecutors, he has owned a number of nightclubs and restaurants and owned an insurance company. The indictment paints a picture that Rollo desperately wanted county contracts. Prosecutors say Stenger's campaign accepted tens of thousands of dollars in donations from Rollo and his companies, with the understanding, according to the indictment, that Stenger would help Rollo get the contracts he wanted. In one exchange, after Rollo held a fundraiser for Stenger's campaign, Rollo wrote, quote, "I think last night went well. Hope you were pleased." To which Stenger responded, "John, thank you. It went really well. I appreciate it. Thank you." And then Rollo said, "Glad to do it. Let's keep the train moving." Prosecutors claim that was a reference to ongoing contract discussions. That exchange just one example of numerous conversations Stenger had with Rollo about contracts. Now, News 4's Chris Nagus went to Rollo's listed address today in Chesterfield, but no one there answered the door. Rollo was awarded some contracts and land deals, but was ultimately denied other contracts. The scheme started to unravel when when reporters started asking questions. In some text messages, Stenger appeared irate about that. We're going to show you that exchange coming up on News 4 at 5. Certainly a really interesting one. A lot of these text messages and recorded conversations really kind of do illuminate the scheme itself and some of the things that were happening.
All right, interested to hear what you found out tonight at 5 more. Thank you. St. Louis Mayor Lyda Krewson says that Stenger made the right decision to resign. In a tweet that she sent out today, she wrote in part, "These are very serious charges. This clearly would have a negative effect on the county executive's ability to govern. That affects the whole region. The county executive made the right decision in resigning." We are also hearing from Unite STL. That's the political group working on a city-county merger. They say while the reunification effort is unaffected by today's development, we do believe that it underscores the need for change and the potential benefit of reforming and streamlining St. Louis government. Opponent of the merger, County Councilman Ernie Trickus, had this response.
They clearly were 100% behind Steve Stenger until it was no longer convenient to do so. So I think it's fair for anybody and everyone to question their judgment and their credibility.
In just about 2.5 hours, the County Council will hold an emergency meeting to select Stenger's replacement. But now we want to take a look back at some of Stenger's history. The 47-year-old was first elected to the County Council in 2008. And as News 4 investigates, Chris Nagus reports Stenger's campaign speeches were filled with promises to stop scandals in St. Louis County.
Let's show them a quality way of life in a county free of embarrassments and scandals, at a minimum.
That was Steve Stenger 6 years ago as he announced his first bid to run for St. Louis County Executive.
And let's go forward with new ideas of what accountability in county government means.
Before that race, Stenger served as the County Council representative for South St. Louis County for 2 terms. In 2014, he decided to take on longtime county executive Charlie Dooley in a hotly contested Democratic primary.
I think that we've seen scandal after scandal that have rocked the county. I think we read about it in the paper, we see it on television, and to date, there's really been no accountability for any of those instances of waste and mismanagement and corruption.
He won that race and won a narrow victory in the general election in 2014.
My message to the entire county has been one of restoring accountability to St. Louis County government.
During his time in office, there have been numerous battles between Stenger and county council members, even during council meetings.
But I know the dog ate your homework and the sun was in your eyes, so you have a hard time.
And county council meetings have been littered with protests amid accusations that county contracts were being awarded to Stenger campaign donors.
Everything about this proposal reeks.
This smacks of cronyism.
Thank you.
But time and time again, Stenger tossed aside accusations he was ever tied up in any sort of pay-to-play scandal.
Is that something you would do?
No, I mean, these are contributions that in no way affected my judgment whatsoever, that in no way weighed in my decision, so I don't see any reason to do that.
And as you know, today's indictment tells a different story. Now, during his tenure, Stenger's taxpayer-funded paycheck totaled $140,000 a year. I've asked if he's still eligible for a county pension. I'm still waiting for an answer to that question. Live in the control room, Chris Nagus, News 4.
KMOV was the first to alert you on this story, both here on air and on the mobile app. Stick with News 4. We'll have more crews digging into this story to bring you complete coverage tonight on News 4 at 5, as well as on KMOV.com. And don't forget to download the KMOV News app to get all the latest updates throughout the day. It is free in your phone's app store.